I'm here to talk about water and sewer. Obviously, water has been a problem for quite a while in town here, and the fortunate thing is we've talked a lot with David Condry over at the water company, and you should all feel pretty good about who's running that show now. David's a pretty talented guy, and I think he definitely has the best interests of Milford in mind, and he's a very good manager. The town is supplied by principally three sources. Echo Lake and the Charles River are a surface water supply. They also have three wells at Godfrey Brook, Clarks Island, and Dilla Street. There are also several emergency connections to Bellingham, Medway, Holliston, and Hopedale. There's also a fourth well in town that's an emergency well. All of this material, all this water is processed through the water treatment plant over at Dilla Street and is accessed to the distribution network through a series of storage tanks and booster pumps. Our site is going to get water as well from the Milford Water Company via their distribution system. The site in particular is served by an 8-inch water main in East Main Street. Now this 8-inch water main has had a lot of problems over the past 10 years with a lot of breakage. So currently it's in the municipal plan right now with the water company to replace that line with a 10-inch main. We're working with the water company right now to make sure that that 10-inch main is suitable for what our needs are, as well as to make sure that it allows for the next layer of development that might come. We're also considering, at the request of the water company, to connect a loop, because if you look at the line that connects down East Main Street, it dead ends. That puts the situation where the loop itself is not reinforced, so it can, during a fire or during some extraordinary need, it could lose supply. So looping back to the Fortune Boulevard main is a good thing because it provides redundant service and it also gives a level of safety. The challenge there is that we'd have to go over private property to get that. So what we've also looked at is putting an on-site water tank. Right now, we've provided all our demands to the water company, and they're running it through their model to see if an on-site water tank will help provide the service and the redundancy that they would like to have. Okay, the question about water availability. Right now, the current demand in Milford is about 2.63 million gallons a day. Our site in phase one will require about 0.17 million gallons a day. That's 170,000 gallons per day. These are average demands. That's the way the regulatory environment works. They do it based on average flows. During the summer, obviously, use goes up quite a bit, but we're using this because this is a metric that the permitting agencies use. So our total demand between the town and the site would be about 2.8 million gallons per day. Right now, the town has an approved safe yield from DEP of 3.68 million gallons per day. That's almost 1 million gallons more than your current usage is, and that with the new casino phase one. The authorized withdrawal. The safe yield is what the DEP allows you to withdraw from the aquifer before it could create unsafe conditions for adjacent communities or other wells. The authorized withdrawal is a demand-based number. What DEP does is they set a number based on the actual town's demand to force towns to be conservative with their water usage. So you see there, the permitted yield and the permitted withdrawal rates are several 100,000 gallons per day higher than even our proposed demand. The problem we have is that the current production of the wells that the town has just barely makes over the needs that, covers the needs that the town has. At times it can produce more, but it can't reliably produce it, so you end up having shortages during the summer, peak summer months. But the important thing here is that the issue is not the permit. The permit is the hard thing to control. Those are things that take 2 years, 3 years to get addressed. Production is exclusively in the control of the Milford Water Company. They are right now, as part of their capital plan, investigating 2 or 3 different options and currently have them in their budgets to do these projects that will increase the water supply in town. We're also committing to help them explore new resources. So great news there is that we've got plenty of authorized capacity about underneath the safe yield, plenty underneath the authorized withdrawal, so no adjustments with DEP are required. All we have to do is figure out cooperatively with the water company how to increase their production. The important thing to note here too is safe yields are no joke. Okay, so if the 3.68 million gallons per day is a number that DEP has approved, it's safe to assume that the capacity is there and that it's safe to withdraw that amount. The challenge is upgrading systems and upgrading production to match that number or to match what the town needs. So our strategy for working this out, first is, probably the most important thing in our mind, is be responsible with the water that we use. Scott mentioned that, yes, the casinos are a very big water user, and that's principally because we have so much extra heat to get rid of. I think the story I heard when we did on the Middleborough Casino was that for 11 months out of the year, the casino is releasing heat. So they only use heat for 1 month out of the year. The rest of the year, they're trying to get rid of heat. So what that means is that in the August months, we use an incredible amount of water just for cooling tower demands. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out ways to reuse water on site, to recycle and treat that water to reuse in our cooling tower makeup. We're also going to, and this is pretty much standard fare at most large facilities, is store rainwater for use for irrigation. We will not use public water for irrigation on the site. The next big thing, and this is an idea from David Condry of the water company, is that we're obviously going to use low-flow fixtures throughout our project, but he also suggested that we look into retrofitting the schools. Right now, the schools don't have high-end low-flow fixtures. We can go in the school system, install those fixtures, and reduce the overall town demand. So that creates capacity for us to use, but it also saves money for the school system. The other thing is to increase supply. So we mentioned this earlier. There are several projects on the books right now where the Milford Water Company is going out to look for supply. Admittedly, those are earmarked for just normal future development. So we don't view any that we have any right to that work. We're going to still strive to do things beyond what Milford Water Company is currently doing to make sure that we're going beyond what we need to do. Right now, they're currently in the planning stages of assigning a connection fee for new projects. The connection fee for us, based on our usage, will be in excess of $2 million. This money goes to finding new sources, goes to making the existing sources more reliable. The other thing we've discussed with the water company is assessing us with a high volume surcharge. What that means is that because we use so much water, we'll pay more money for that water than the residents will. So our rates for the higher water use will be higher than yours, which means yours will go down. The last thing we'd like to do is, we're in a pretty susceptible area on the site with our high elevation and our position at the end of a water line. So what we want to do is make sure, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, is do stuff that increases reliability, increases pressure on our site into those areas near us. So we're investigating right now with the water company what we can do about putting an on-site water tank or connecting back through to Fortune Boulevard. The next thing I just want to cover is sewer collection and treatment. So unlike the Milford Water Company, which is a private water company, your town operates its own sewer department. And it's been run for several years by John Meany. He runs a really tight ship. You know, he doesn't let anything go. So I think you can feel comfortable that if he agrees with us that there's a way to provide sewer to the development, then there's a way to provide sewer. The components of that sewer system, though, are principally gravity sewers, which collect and flow by gravity, pump stations and force mains, and a treatment plant that's located down by Hopedale, down in the southern part of the town. They also, in our area, a series of septic systems that, because of the location that we have on site, and because of the residents on East Main Street, it's nearly impossible to get that flow to the wastewater treatment plant without several pump stations. We've had talks with the sewer company about building infrastructure that is needed to serve our site, but extending it all the way down East Main Street to give the residents in that section of Milford, off of Zane Ridge and other areas, an opportunity to connect to sewer. So where we sit relative to average daily flow in the town, Milford currently treats about 4.3 million gallons per day of sewage. It's slightly higher than what your water usage, because water usage, the component of the base flow, is slightly lower than your water usage because some of the water that you buy is used as consumptive. Some people use it for irrigation, some people use it for other uses that don't return back to sewer. The other portion of that flow of 4.3 million gallons is what's called inflow and infiltration. This is water that's not sewer. This is water that gets into the sewer pipes from other sources, such as if people turn their sump pumps on in their basement and connect it to their sewer line, well, that's not sewage, that's just inflow. There's also infiltration, which comes in from leaky pipes or leaky manholes. So you can see this water that's not real sewage is almost equal to the amount of sewage that you produce. Our project at phase one will be about 0.2 million gallons per day. That's about 10%. And our inflow and infiltration number is slight because we're building new infrastructure, so there may be some component, and we're required by regulation to consider that component, but it's de minimis. So our total flow post-project will be about 4.5 million gallons per day. Now, the treatment plant right now can treat 13 million gallons per day. So the question there is, well, we've got 4.5 and 13. What doesn't make sense there? Well, the issue is the peaks. So at peak flow, your base flow in town at most is 5 million gallons per day. So that's normal usage in peak flows. The bigger component is inflow and infiltration. So when the water table is high and when it's raining outside, that's when most of that bad water, the infiltration water, the water that's not sewage, is getting into the sewer system. So as you can see, even at the peak day, the maximum daily base flow is less than half of your treatment plant capacity. The true challenge is getting this inflow and infiltration out of the system. Now, John Manini and the sewer department has been at work for this for several years now. They've got a great plan in place. They're going out in the community right now and trying to get people to disconnect sump pumps. They're paying for those relocations. We're going to continue that process. So the key for us is to go out and find that inflow and infiltration, reduce that number, and increase the effective capacity that you have in your sewer system. So back to our strategy for sewer. Again, the same principles we apply to water. The less water we use, the less sewer we'll generate. So we're committed to water reuse and low flow fixtures on our site, as well as doing something in the schools. The bigger component is eliminate inflow and infiltration. Now, what's important to understand here is that we are required, the state DEP, as part of our MEPA filing, will require us to, at a minimum, remove 4 gallons for every 1 gallon of flow that we increase the system. So that would mean for us, at about 200,000 gallons per day for our commitment to the system, over 500,000 gallons per day of net flow out of the system. And this is not something that's arbitrary or discretionary. This is a component that will be absolutely part of our MEPA approvals. Now, and even recently on projects, John has asked for a 5-to-1 removal, so this number could even go up. But this is the most important component. If we eliminate inflow and infiltration at a rate, at the 4-to-1 rate, it means we're taking 4 times as much flow out of the system as we're putting in at the time that the system needs it the most. And the last thing we talked about is the new infrastructure. We're currently on an unsewered section of town. So we will at a minimum have to install sewer for our development. And that sewer will include a pump station, and it'll include gravity infrastructure. What we're planning to do right now, and we've done concept designs, and John's going to be looking at them soon, and Tata and Howard's going to be looking at them soon, is develop a plan that we think works that extends sewer all the way to the town limit at Holliston. What this will do is give everybody in those communities that are east of our site an opportunity to connect into the sewer system. We will take on the responsibility of operating any pump stations and managing any of the infrastructure, but the town and the residents that currently are on septic systems can connect in.